G'day groovers, rockers, and in between. This is Vinyl Vibes. I'm your host, Jack Hodgins. Today, we are talking with lead singer of The Vapors, David Fenton. David has been doing music since he was 10 years old when he got his first guitar in 1963. As he got older, he would start playing folk clubs and local acoustic groups such as Magician and Anno Bunny. After completing law school, he would form his first electric group, The Vapors, in 1978. The Vapors would be discovered by Jam Bassist Bruce Foxton in 1979, and the group would soon tour with the Jam. In the same year, the group got a recording contract with United Artists, and by January 1980, they released their single, Turning Japanese, a number one hit in Australia. Let's start off at the beginning. You were born in the early 50s in Surrey, England. What can you tell me about your childhood?
I had two brothers, one younger, one older, so my musical influences came from there as well. Everyone listened to music, yeah. My older brother, he was into skiffle, and at that time, the Beatles were doing skiffle as well. So I've got more memories of twisting records, actually, Chubby Checker, and it wasn't all rock and roll, it was like folk and all sorts, skiffle.
What was the record that kind of made you say you wanted to do music?
It probably was going to the Beatles concert. I thought, yeah, I like this. My main memory of that day was there was so much screaming going on, girls screaming. I couldn't actually hear the Beatles very well. I still thought it was good though. And there was a couple of other bands on that same roster. Who were quite good too. So I've always been proud of that. But the first band I ever saw was the Beatles. Not many people could say that. And it was either go to the fun fair or I persuaded them, because my brother voted for it as well, to go and see the Beatles concert instead of going to the fun fair.
When did you start playing guitar? Was that early on, like around the same time, or?
I was 10 when I saw the Beatles, and I can't remember whether I got guitar before or after that. But I was 10 when I got the guitar, just a second-hand, slightly battered acoustic guitar. First electric group I was ever in was the Vapors. Before that, I could only afford acoustic guitar until I ended up selling my car. And when I moved to Guildford to live there and work in the lawyer's office in Guildford, that's when I sold my car and bought an amplifier and guitar.
Okay, yeah. So were you in a group before the Vapors, like an acoustic kind of group?
Obviously, we were under 18, so there was a limit to what we could do or where we could play. But yeah, youth clubs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what was that group called? Do you remember that? Yeah.
We had a few. One was Magician, the other was Anno Bunny. Alistair, it was a friend of mine. Started an electric band. I was playing lead guitar and vocals, and he was playing lead guitar and vocals, and we didn't really need two people doing exactly the same thing. So I got sacked from that band before it even played live. That's when I moved to Guildford and got my Vapors together.
You sold your car to get the guitar and amplifier. Yeah. What guitar did you get? Yeah,
because I was commuting to Guildford from Red Hill, where my parents lived. And I didn't need the car when I moved to Guildford. It made sense. Gibson Marauder was the guitar. The amplifier I bought was H&H 50-watt combo. By the time I started playing in the Vapors, I was onto Telecasters and Marshall amps.
Yeah, how did it all come together? Like, you were in that group beforehand, you got sacked, I think you said, and then you went to form the Vapors. I mean, yeah, how did it all come together, yeah?
I did get a band called the Vapors together. And that was Rob Kemp on lead guitar, Mike Hedges on bass, and Mike Jordan on drums. That lasted till about 1978, when the bass player went to university. He had a choice to either stay in the band or go to university, and he decided on university, which is quite sensible. The drummer left because the bass player had left and they were mates. And the lead guitarist, I just thought was too heavy metal for what I was intending, so I swapped him too. As all these bands split up, and I went around picking up the best people to continue the Vapors with. And, we all knew each other. We'd all played on the same roster as each other. So they knew what I was doing and I knew what they were doing. And it worked out all right.
I'm just kind of thinking, like, with that first installment of the Vapors, like before the lineup that kind of had the hits got signed, what were you guys playing? Were you guys playing originals at that point, or covers, or what were you guys playing?
Originals. I think the only cover the Vapors ever did was "And Then I Kissed Her." It was a bit of a joke, really. I've got a feeling we also did Psycho Killer in the rehearsals, but we never played that live. We weren't keen on doing other people's covers. We wanted to do our own stuff.
Because you were, at the time when you formed the Vapors, you were studying law, or had you begun to?
Yeah, when I left school, I went to Nottingham University to do law. That was a 3-year course. Came out with a degree. That was part 2 of the Law Society exams. That's called part 1 of the Law Society exams, the degree part. And then there's another 6 months intensive exams, It's called Part Two. It's now called Traineeship. And articles of 2 years. So it takes about 5 years, 5.5 years to qualify as a lawyer. So I did all that, got all the bits of paper I wanted, and then tried to get the band off the ground. It was largely because I was working for a law firm in Guildford for 2 years, as I said, and they, after the first year, qualified. I was practicing as a lawyer for a year. And they wrote into my contract that I couldn't play in bands anymore. So I had to make a choice, either try the band thing properly or to be a lawyer. So I thought, I talked to my parents about it, and they were both very supportive. So I took a year out. It actually took about 18 months to get the record deal, but it all worked out within the time frame. So
the Vapors' first gig, February 1978, Lakers Hotel. Like, do you remember that at all? Like that gig? Yeah.
It was two bands on. One was the Lakers, the other was the Cure. It was a very big room, so unusually we set up one at each end. The crowd moved from one end to the other when the bands changed. And for some reason, we went on second, but I don't think we should have. As good as they were, having listened to them at that gig, I thought, well, got some competition here. It was the first lineup. That was Rob Kemp and Mike Hedges, Mike Jordan and me.
About a year and so later in 79, April 79, Bruce Foxton of the Jam discovers the band. I mean, do you remember meeting Bruce for the first time?
It was Steve more than me that was chatting to him at the bar after the gig. I was packing up. I didn't have a long conversation with him at that time. But he'd already offered us the gigs, which was great. 2 dates. One was Bristol Colston Hall, and the other was Portsmouth Guildhall. I think it was Portsmouth, but we got an encore, and the second band on didn't. So we were doing quite well just to get a jam crowd to like us. If you look on our website, there's what we call a gig history. It's got every gig we did done right back to Lakers Hotel. Well, I think you can tell when we start doing the marquee more than once a week. That's really when John Weller kicked in and started getting decent gigs around London. It wasn't just the marquee then; it was all sorts of London dates, which was good. Before that was gigs we got by ourselves. We even got a John Peel session on radio just by sending a cassette in and chasing him. He rang us back and gave us a session.
Getting signed to United Artists. I mean, did you get that through Bruce Foxton, or like was that
Bruce and John that got us a gig? They got us 2 offers. One was from Polydor, and the other was from United Artists. So we had 2 deals. They're both very similar, but we chose the United Artists because the Jam were on Polydor. We didn't want the same manager and the same record company. It's just like a bit of independence from the Jam, really. Not just in the same basket and regarded as the same band or a subset of the same band. So we went with United Artists. In doing demos for Polydor, that's how we met Pete Wilson, who produced the first single. So we got well with him. Did a bunch of demos and went back and did a single.
Yeah, and I mean that's first single, Prisoners, October 79, I think it comes out. I mean that's a great track, and I really really like it. I mean, do you remember writing the song? Like, do you remember like the writing process? Yeah.
I knew we had to write a new single because we didn't want to put Turn Japanese out first in case it just got lost in the general melee. But I don't remember much about writing it. I know Prisoners is about prisoner TV program in the UK, which is still shown now. But it's filmed at a place called Port Merion, which is in North Wales, and that's what it was about, really. That TV program, Prisoner. They were all numbered and held captive in this Port Merion place. We now play there every year. We take the village over for 2 days, 2 nights, but we do like 2-hour sets with support bands, and it's like a convention, really.
Pete Wilson produced it. I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, what was he like as a producer? Like working with him? Do you have any memories of that kind of interaction?
We got on all right. That's why we went back for him to do the first single. I don't remember anything specific. All that bit's a bit of a blur, really.
The first single, I mean, and it has a great sound, and but. It did. I don't think, from what I've been able to see, it didn't chart. Did the record company not push it enough? Like, yeah.
Well, one thing I didn't realise was going on was that EMI was buying out United Artists. That's part of the reason why the band split up in the end, was that we signed up to United Artists, but within a month, EMI had taken them over, made all the people that signed us up redundant. So they all lost their jobs, and there was nobody in the United Artists anymore that actually liked us or actually signed us. So that was part of the reason for the band not lasting very long.
Turning Japanese. I've read that you wrote that in your flat. Am I right on that?
Yeah, in Guildford. I had the verses and the bridges and all the parts, but not the chorus. I mean, I had the tune for the chorus, but I had no lyrics for the chorus. It was just the tune. It could have been anything, but I couldn't find anything that suited. And that took 3 or 4 weeks before something came through. And it was that I woke up at 4 a.m. and with Turning Japanese in my head. So I wrote it down, went back to sleep, and I stuck with it. When we looked at it, it seemed to work.
Before you came up with Turning Japanese, the title and all that, did you have any working titles for the song before you came up with the?
No, I had what ended up being the lead guitar solo was another tune I had, another Japanese sounding tune. I thought I could write another song out of. But we ended up using it as a solo in the Turning Japanese.
What did the band think of the song when you presented it to them for the first time?
Generally, everyone, the rest of the band realised this was the original band, not the band that got signed, but the original band. Everyone seemed to like it, apart from the drummer. He just didn't. And so instead of playing along nicely, he went boom splat, boom splat, boom splat, boom splat. Take the piss out of it. And I said, can we keep that for the middle eight? The drummer did us a favour, really.
So you wrote Turning Japanese in the first instalment of the Vapors, that had been written early 78, late 77 then?
Yeah, probably. It was written before Prisoners, because Prisoners was written for the purpose of being the first single.
I mean, do you think that had you recorded Turning Japanese as your first single with Pete Wilson, would it have been as big a hit? Do you think? Had you, with his interaction with you guys and I
think Pete Wilson's mixes were more punky, more heavy. That is a criticism I had of Vic. We didn't like the recording he'd done. Not necessarily Turning Japanese, but some the album tracks. It was all a bit dry and clean and not as heavy as we thought we were live. I think we had more of an edge to us live, but we lost a bit on the mix of the album. And coincidentally, we discussed this with the chairman of UA, because saying we want to remix it and all that. And he persuaded us to, instead of remixing the entire album, that we could have the choice of single.
The producer, Vic Coppersmith-Heaven, when he was doing Turning Japanese, I read this, that he said that he recorded you guys live in the studio and then he would take out everything, leave the drums, and you record it again. Was that the process for Turning Japanese?
That's how most producers go, I think. I mean, I'm pretty sure Pete Wilson would have done something like that too. We were totally up for that. When you get a good drum beat, a decent vibe, decent feel, then you perfect the bits, the icing on the cake. Right to the very basics, rhythm guitar again, bass again, just means you can perfect it. Just keep going until you've done the take that's perfect, or you can drop in on a take and make it perfect.
Yeah, I mean, in saying that, how long did it take? Did it take long to record the song? Did you get it pretty quickly, or
only a couple of days, and probably another day for mixing, but it wasn't that long, really. But Vic was a bit peculiar in how he dealt with it, in terms of making the lead guitar solo, for example. Rather than getting one dirty sound and playing it on one guitar, he made me and Ed sit opposite each other, both play the same thing, play the solo, with a clean sound, and then do it 6 times. So there's 12 tracks of lead guitar.
Yeah.
They sounded really big and powerful because they were built on top of each other. It wasn't just one dirty sound. It was lots and lots of clean sounds that, because of the slight dirt in them. I'd never come across a producer that did that before.
So you double tracked that 6 times and had to play it perfectly every time. Wow.
Yeah. So God knows how many times we did that.
Yeah.
Most of the morning, I think. So that did take up a bit of time. We were pretty well rehearsed, and the bass line could go down in 1 or 2 takes. Rhythm guitar could go down in 1 or 2 takes. So generally we were pretty good, but that was weird. I'd never done that before.
Number 1 in Australia, number 3 in the UK, number 36 in America, I think it was, Turning Japanese. I mean, do you remember hearing it on the radio for the first time?
Yeah, when I was in my flat in Guildford, it woke me up one morning. That was amazing. But there's loads of amazing things. It wasn't that very long after that we were number one in Australia.
Mm.
Never even been to Australia, and there's me in my flat in Guildford. And this is happening on the other side of the world. It made the world very small.
That song, Turning Japanese, I mean, was that recorded as a part of the Nuclear Days sessions, or was that just...
We finished it first, I think. Just speaking from memory now, I think we did start out on it and finish it before we started recording the rest of the album, because we needed a single.
I mean, you got some Cold War imagery on there. Like, I think you got the nuclear logo thing on the front cover, and you've got a song called Cold War on it. I mean, was that in your mind a lot? Like, because the Cold War, I think, was still going on when that was, yeah.
We're talking about 1980, and that's Thatcher and Reagan, Cold War with Russia. Everything was on edge. It could be nuclear. I mean, nothing much has changed really. We've still got the same problems now. We're still not talking to Russia. It could happen again. So we still play Cold War live and announce it by saying, wrote this song 40 years ago. Nothing much has changed.
There's a powerful thing about songs, I mean, in that, don't you think? That it transcends time.
And it can affect people's thinking as well.
Mm.
I had a few long conversations with Paul Weller about this very subject, how powerful it can be. Yeah, because there's him standing in front of 2,000 people sometimes, and they're listening to his every word, and they're singing it back at him. The first album was about nuclear war, the risks, how close we are to it. Are we living in bunkers? Well, we have to live in bunkers. The word bunkers has come up so much recently in the Ukrainian war, and to be on the news all the time, just brought the relevance of the song back.
The follow-up single, News at 10, I mean, I think that was when the Top of the Pops thing was going, like the strike was going on.
The rules that they had was that, the highest new entry was always the Top of the Pops, on the Top of the Pops. We were the highest new entry that week. Nothing happened. When News at 10 came out, it was a strike at the BBC. There was no Top of the Pops.
Oh, yeah, right.
And that, suddenly we were just disappeared from everything. There was no internet. There was no MTV at that time. The only thing that we could rely on was Top of the Pops, and it wasn't there.
Was that disappointing for the band that the follow-up single, News at 10, wasn't as big as probably what it should have been?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
We thought because we had one hit, we'd probably get another hit. But it doesn't seem to work like that.
Nuclear Days came out in June 1980, and in August 1980, you guys made your first international tour down to Australia. And I mean, I think it was number one at the time. I mean, do you remember much about that 1980 Australian tour?
Yeah, bits and pieces. Yeah, I mean, it was a really great time. It was really great going to Australia in the first place. The other side of the world, it was, and for work. No, it was brilliant. We had a great time. There were some great people. And the weather's brilliant.
Because you guys also played on a show here called Countdown. I mean, do you remember much about Countdown?
It's on YouTube, isn't it? I've seen it on somewhere, waiting for the weekend. I've got a feeling we met Molly Meldrum. I've got this nagging feeling that he took us back to his house and for ice cream or something.
I think it was 3 months later, September 1980, I think we're talking here now. I mean, you guys go to America. Now, I mean, America for most bands was like the top place to go back then. I mean, it probably still is now. But yeah, what was that like getting to America and touring there?
The weird thing was that we weren't going to America when we came to Australia. We had our visas and everything for Australia, but nothing for America. We actually applied for visas in Australia to take us into America on the way home. It was all very last minute. There was only about half a dozen gigs, I think. But the first two were at the Whiskey A Go-Go. We did a matinee and then an evening. All those were sold out. So the first week in America was busy and very rewarding.
You mentioned the gig list on your website a few times, and I had a good look at that for the American tour. And yeah, you guys played the Whiskey A Go-Go, I think. And yeah, I mean, do you remember much about playing the Whiskey A Go-Go? I mean, famous club in America, yeah, LA, yeah.
Yeah, I remember a bit about it. We were heckled a bit. I managed to sort that one out. And like I said, it was two gigs on the same day, so it was really tiring. After the first one, who should pop into the changing room but Clem Burke, shake hands and say hello. It was nice. After
that US tour, you guys go back to the UK. I think it's November 1980 around this point. You start recording Magnets, the album, and I was having a listen to it. And I mean, I like the album a lot. I mean, it's the content's a lot like in terms of the lyrics you're kind of doing is a lot more serious and maybe a little bit more darker kind of lyrical content. I mean, what made you go into that artistic direction? Yeah.
I enjoy that sort of thing, looking on the dark side. The album's called Magnets. It's about people that attract other people. The thing that fascinated me about the Jim Jones, is that he managed to persuade 1,000 people to commit suicide. How fucking powerful is that? Why? How does it? That's what the album is about. Magnets, people that are magnetic to other people that attract for some reason. There's photographs of things like Hitler and Mussolini and all on the album cover, I think, because they are all magnets. They attract other people, whether for good or bad. The ones that we highlighted are the bad ones are attracted to evil. I find that fascinating. Why would people be attracted to evil? That's what it's about. I mean, that magnets is that. It's a magnetic person. It's the people that are magnets to other people.
I think the last single was Jimmy Jones, the song you wrote about Jim Jones. I mean, I had a look at the there's the music video online on YouTube, and I think I like the music video as well. I mean, do you remember much about filming that?
Oh, Jimmy Jones. Oh yeah. I was down that cave, wasn't it? And it was fun doing that. And we came back into did the rest of it filming in the chapel in West London. Yeah, that was fun. I set fire to my guitar on that. I had a Gibson Melody Maker, and if you look at that video again, it's got bales of hay along the front of the stage and Super Trooper lights going up. Well, I posed on the side of the stage with one of my feet up on the hay bales, and my guitar headstock went in the Super Trooper. When I took it out, it was on fire. I panicked on that, and I made a mess of my guitar, which is a shame, really.
I mean, that was the band's last single, and had everything worked out. Do you think you guys sort of made music well into the 80s?
5 points about the split, why split? Record company, managers, top of the pops. But the real final straw was that we were going into the studio to record our 7th single, called Red Flag. And we went, we were at a rehearsal room. The A&R man came down to listen to it all, took us to the pub afterwards, bought us drinks, and he went back to his office and cancelled the session. So why didn't he tell us? He didn't like it. How can you work with people like that? That was the last straw, and that's when I left. It just struck me, well, I was fighting an uphill battle. How could I sort the record company out, sort the management out? There was nothing left to sort out. It was all gone. Suddenly we had no record deal. Well, the record company wasn't our record company anymore. Other people that didn't like us weren't very supportive. So maybe that did have an effect on Prisoners, I don't know. Then very shortly after that, the Jam Bruce and John Weller realised that when they were number one and we were number 3, that they couldn't actually support us. There was too much going on. They were in France, touring in Europe. We'd be in America. We'd never see our managers. That first year, we got by with the tour manager. So that was that. I mean, we lost our record company and we lost our managers. People just forgotten about us. I didn't want to go back to law. I didn't want to go back and be a lawyer. I got my qualifications out of the way, and that was it. And I wanted to be a musician. Had we had a bit more success, or even 2 or 3 hits, we would have stuck together longer. But it amazes me that 40 years after the event, people still come to our gigs.
2016, you got the band back together. I mean, what inspired that move? Yeah,
I was free. I was retiring. What was I going to do? Sit around and watch TV all day? I kept in touch with the band, throughout really for the last 30, 40 years, whatever it is. And I knew Ed was keen on doing it, and I knew Steve was keen on doing it. Howard, less so, but as it turned out, he just had a baby when 2016, so it was out of the equation anyway. So we found a new drummer and started playing.
4 years later, 2020, the first album in 30 years comes out for the Vapors. It's called Together, features 12 original tracks. I mean, what was your writing process for the album? Had you been writing those songs for a while, or
It's all stuff written since the band got back together. And the way we worked really was jamming out an idea, a riff or whatever. If I had the chorus or a verse or whatever, jamming it out and seeing how it worked. So it's something that everyone liked. So we could play something for an hour and then say, no, it's not working. We did that quite a lot. Some things did work at the last minute, and I was pleased about that. And others worked straight away, which was broke down something like 16, maybe 20 tracks to 12 to go on the album. We had a choice. We're doing the same thing now with what will hopefully be the fourth album. We've got about 20 tracks that we're going through and trying to pick the best.
Did you have any idea when that album might come out? Like any idea at all? Or
We've got to record it yet. It's quite hard getting rehearsals together. Everyone's all over the place. Ed's not in it anymore. He's still film directing. He's got a well-paid job, so he doesn't need to be in the band. So my son Daniel's taken over from Ed's part as lead guitar. So, but Dan is also doing a PhD. So he has to give up time for that. So we got there's limited time for rehearsal and recording.
Was that because that would have been recorded during the pandemic, right? Like during the lockdown period, kind of.
It was recorded before the pandemic. Then we had to decide whether we're going to release it during the pandemic or sit on it for even longer. We decided to get it out so people knew we were doing something, not just sitting around. Couldn't play live, couldn't promote it. We eventually managed to do something in lockdown that was put on the internet. But it was really. We couldn't do much. Hands were really tight. Couldn't even rehearse for a while. I
love the singles you guys did off that. My favourite probably is Crazy. I think that might have been the second single. I'm not sure off the album, but how did that song come to be? Was that just out of a jam, like with the band, or did you write it yourself? Yeah.
It must have been the end. It was at the end of a rehearsal, and I was packing my stuff away, and it kept coming back. So I went outside and recorded it onto my phone. It became Crazy. But I found that the chorus tune was the bit that I had, and then I wrote everything else around it.
You kept that 80s sound a little bit, but it's like in a modern way. I mean, is that kind of the direction you guys wanted to go in?
It's still sticking with two guitars, bass and drums. Nothing's changed. It's still sort of lead guitar, rhythm guitar, bass guitar. So I don't expect it to sound too different.
That album together, that's on CD. Is that on vinyl at all?
Yes, we did do a vinyl version, but I think we sold out now.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys, of course, you're gigging a lot, playing a lot of concerts, around the UK area, and I was kind of thinking, because you guys, were relatively big in Australia, but we're turning Japanese. I mean, will we ever see another Vapors tour in Australia?
We need someone to promote us. We haven't promoted, so anyone who wants to do that, fine. But we can't afford to do it ourselves. There have been talks about that, but nothing's come to fruition yet. So don't hold your breath.
Yeah, but I mean, in saying that, I mean, what's next for you? I mean, you talked about the upcoming album that you guys are recording. I mean, what's next for you guys? I mean, apart from that, I mean, any plans? Yeah.
I've been offered some gigs in America. It's called Lost 80s Tour. Heard of that? We did it in 2019, but obviously it's been off the radar for a couple of years. We started again on a small way this year, but I think it's just finished the current Lost 80s Tour. But there weren't that many gigs. Venues are still exploring and expanding gradually, taking it very nervously so they get locked down again. I'd love to go to Australia again.
We've spoken about some really, really cool things about the band, and just thanks for making the time.
No problems.
That was lead singer of the Vapors, David Fenton. The Vapors got back together in 2016, and so to see upcoming gigs and music, head to their website, thevapors.co.uk. Remember to share this show with other music fans, and if you really enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Vinyl Vibes, and to all you music lovers out there, stay groovy.